I told him he can take the resolutions off with her, just make a motion to change the waivers.
No.
Do that too. See what happens. Okay, so we are here, and show captions. Okay, supervisor.
All set?
Yes.
All right. Pledge of allegiance. Councilmember Kowarski, can you lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now a moment of silence for our veterans. And for the invocation this evening, Reverend Rick Maisano.
Just to let you know, one of our residents who is always in every meeting is in the hospital right now getting a bone marrow transplant. So we'll keep, please keep Dave Uzar in your prayers, your thoughts and prayers. Father, as we stand here today, we just ask, Lord God, your blessing upon those who cannot make it today because of illness, sickness, all kinds of things going on. Father God, we just pray, Father, your healing touch upon our residents, your blessing upon this meeting tonight. We pray, Father God, for our country, Lord, that you bring unity to this nation. Bring it back. It's so fractured. We're asking, Father God, for unity. We're also praying, Father, for our police, our fire, all the first responders, Lord, that, Father, you bless and protect them. We thank you for all your goodness and mercy. Guide us tonight through this meeting, we ask. We ask in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 All right, please be seated.
Yeah, someone must have going out now.
Madam Clerk, can you have a roll call vote? Or roll call. That's
Roll call. Councilmember Barbara Bukowski.
Present. Councilmember Michael Jasinski,
here.
Councilmember Gerald Kaminsky,
Here, present.
Councilmember Brian Pilarski,
Present.
Councilmember Vernon Thompson,
Here.
Supervisor Brian Noah.
Present.
All are here.
All right, and with that, we're going to move on to the public comment period. This is an opportunity for residents to comment on items appearing on the agenda of the town board meeting tonight. The public comment period should last 15 minutes maximum. Each speaker may speak only once, and each speaker shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes speaking time. Okay. General at the end. Relating to the agenda. First up, we have Tony Flipsky this evening.
How y'all doing? I want to speak a little bit about residency that's coming up. I was a cop in Cheektowaga for 30 years, retired 2.5. I've seen a lot in 30 years. This is going to sound like some of my greatest hits, but bear with me, it's not. I was first on a scene of a bombing where 3 men were blown up, 2 of them were fatally. Paramedics, obviously in shock, trying to treat the dead, had to be pulled away to work on the injured. I was stabbed on the job, chased suspects on foot while shots were being fired, been injured in car accidents. Not my fault. Not my fault that the accident. Fought with people who try to take my gun from my holster, yelling they're going to kill me. I've done death notifications where I tell elderly women, excuse me, an elderly woman that her husband of 40 years was found dead while fishing. And I had to sit there and console her for an hour because there was nobody else. I've entered burning houses to try to rescue people, perform CPR on drug overdose victims. Seen dead children. One particular one was a domestic homicide where the mother was shielding the 2-year-old child. And we rescued me and several other officers. Rescued the child. Unfortunately, he didn't make it. The mother didn't make it. That kind of stuff sticks with you. I've had the cop nightmare where somebody's trying to kill me, you try to fire your gun and your gun doesn't work. Luckily now the only nightmare I have is an AARP car chasing me around. I've had neighbors banging on my door at 3 o'clock in the morning, holding their limp-bodied child and say, do something. I've had angry people show up at my house because their kid got arrested or they got a ticket. The point of all this is that there's not gonna be a mass exodus of cops leaving this town. When I got hired in 91, you could leave. My guess is you're probably gonna get 6 to maybe 10 people leave. But what this is about is all of them and everybody that works in this building. Because they won't tell you what they're feeling or what's going on, because they just can't. They won't. You can't show weakness. Not out there. You just can't. That's just the way it is. They just want the option to be able to say, I can leave. That's all. When you live where you police, you never get the chance to decompress. You just don't. You're always on a heightened state. Everybody knows you're the cop on the street. Now you can say, well, if they move to Lancaster, West Seneca, East Aurora, same thing's gonna happen. No, not unless they tell somebody. You can't take your car home for lunch, dinner, I forgot my keys, go to the bathroom, whatever. You can't take the car out of town. So unless you want to tell somebody who you are, they're not gonna know. People I first met, I used to tell them I worked in sanitation for the town. I never told anybody what I did for various reasons.
Mr.
Example,
Flip, that is 3 minutes, but I'll make a motion to extend his time.
is that 3 minutes already? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'll
Perfect.
second.
I'm
the
almost
extra
done.
minute.
Yep, go right ahead. I just want to make
I
sure.
appreciate it, thank you. The examples I gave to stress the anxiety, these people go through every day. I'm not trying to showboat, I'm not trying to say I'm special. Please don't take it that way. This is stuff that they go through every day, but you don't see it on the news, you don't hear about it. This is stuff that happens every day. I know the politically smart thing to do is to try to get something out of the union, I get it. And that's probably the smart thing to do. But every once in a while, just every once in a while, it's okay to do the decent, humane thing and just get this done and move on. Build some political capital with the union and the employees. It won't cost the town anything. Every once in a while, it's just okay to do the right thing. Thank you for your time. And thank you, Mr. Pilarski and Mr. Commissioners. Thank you.
Next up is Dawn Flipsky.
Hello, Dawn Filipski, Cheektowaga. I wanted to talk about the sewer bonding. I had a few things. Last year, sewer bonding was $7 million. Prior to that, starting 2004, we bonded a very small amount for 30 years. In 2015, you bonded some more for 10 years, 2016, another 30 years, 2020, 40 to 20 years, another 20 years here, there. All in all, it adds up to $30 million in sewer bonding in the last maybe 10 years or whatever. That's a lot of money. So my question is, how are we repaying those funds? Where is that money coming from? Are we increasing sewer taxes? Is this coming from a general fund? How are we repaying $30 million? That's the question. You just can answer it when you feel like it. And how much do we get in from sewer every year? We collect sewer taxes. I'd assume that there's a sewer reserve. Nobody's talking about how much that is or how much we're paying out. The pump station number 3 that was in the bond, I had a question on how much the Midtown apartment is contributing. How was that amount figured out? What funds is that coming out of? And there's other locations on, I think, Transit or Genesee that were also included with that. It's not really fair to ask all the homeowners that have maybe been there 20, 30 years, they didn't anticipate big projects moving in that are gonna use a lot of sewer water to do those kinds of things. And the other question I had was on Harlem Road. I see that they're going to rent these apartments and it's supposed to help people with moderate incomes. I don't think that helps people at all because you get in that rent trap. I think what helps somebody is a hand up and a decent mortgage rate and a decent place to live where you can build equity. If you don't build equity in your home, you don't build nothing. That's it. Thank you.
Be done. Next up this evening is Gary Borick.
The Harlem project. I think I heard two things that I want to comment on. One was if there's a parking problem, they'll talk to the town highway department to make some adjustment to Harlem Road. That's not very specific. Let's make it simple. If there's a parking problem, they'll reduce occupancy by 5 people every month until the parking problem goes away. That's rather simple. And if they don't think there's going to be a parking problem, they certainly wouldn't have a problem with that provision, would they? Because they're telling us there won't be, so why would they be worried? And if there is, it solves the problem. The occupancy gets reduced till the parking problem disappears. As to the sewer issue, I think Mr. Jasinski made a good point. He wants to see some language that'll protect the town. I don't think any of you should be writing that language. I think our town attorney should be writing it and passing it around to you to review. That's where it should be done. It's a legal issue. Have our town attorney do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy Putzlack, you're next.
Hello, I just want to encourage the passing of the resolutions to support the needed infrastructure improvements in our town. They are needs, not wants. Also, I want to speak a little bit on Harlem Road issue. I don't know if any of you have early, late 20s, early 30s, young people in your household, of which I had two. They can't find affordable places to live. There's no such thing as an affordable home where you can afford a mortgage at the rates that they are now. We need affordable housing in this town. We need housing for the people that work at Tops, Aldi, all these minimum wage jobs. Those wages don't support market rate apartments. And I just wanted to say that about that. And we're just kicking down the can down the road if we're not gonna bond for these issues. The taxes are gonna fall on the backs of my kids. They, our home is in trust for them. They're gonna inherit it when my husband and I pass. And they aren't gonna be able to afford the taxes, especially when the enhanced star goes away, when we both die, that goes away. So they're not gonna be able to afford to stay here because they won't be able to afford it because at some point, taxes are gonna have to be raised. If we keep kicking the can down the road, it's gonna fall on the backs of our young families and young people that are trying to find affordable places to live in this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Corey Arbach.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Corey Auerbach from the law firm of Barclay Damon. On behalf of the applicant, 1111 Harlem Road, I'll try to speak quickly because I understand there's a time limit. We've spoken to the town board at the work session. We've taken time to meet with individual members of the town board regarding the project. I'm grateful to those of you who took the time to meet with us to demonstrate the sort of leadership, accountability, and integrity that elected leaders are supposed to bring forward for their constituents. We are talking about an affordable housing project. We are talking about bringing much needed housing to solve a crisis in the town of Cheektowaga. I understand the needs and the support for building equity and purchasing a home, but most people can't afford to do that. And what the applicant is trying to bring is best in class, affordable, supported housing to the people that were referenced by the last speaker to the students, the people working at TOPS, our first responders, to teachers that have no other place, no safe, quality place to live in this town. It is a crisis that we're trying to meet here, and we're doing it with the support of various grant funding. And that grant funding is going to be lost unless we proceed. I listened to your meeting when you denied this project, and not one single member of the town board talked about section 260-47.1F, the standards in law that govern site plan approval in this town. This applicant has gone to the planning board. They have gone to the Environmental Advisory Council. This body granted a negative declaration pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which means you determine there will be no potentially significant environmental impacts from this project. You want to talk about height? You want to talk about parking? Talk to Chairman Brandon from the Zoning Board of Appeals, who's here, whose board granted the variances necessary to make this project permitted under your code. You set those rules. We met those rules. Your comprehensive plan calls for this exact project in this location. That's why this board granted the Restore New York Fund. You sponsored that. We didn't ask for it. You did. You asked for $3 million to support this project. I would not be standing here today if you didn't lead the developer down this path. This was supposed to be a project in cooperation with the town. I'm talking leadership, integrity, accountability. I didn't hear one thing about the standards in law. Do you not care about your own codes, which say this project is a permitted use in this district at the height and parking that we've requested? A vote against this project is a vote for homelessness, displacement, health impacts, a drain on services, economic instability, increased poverty, and racial and economic segregation and discrimination. You keeping this supported project out of your town is a direct assault on all those good men and women, those blue collar folks that live here that have no affordable quality place to live.
Mr. Arbecker, that is 3 minutes, but I'll make a motion to extend.
I'll stand by a minute.
I stand before you today, again, asking for your leadership and accountability. What message does it send? The fact that you sponsored a grant for this project. What governmental agency is going to give you a grant in the future if you take a developer down this gilded path and leave them at the altar, which is what you did at the last meeting? The law governs the entitlement to site plan approval. There are 14 provisions in your code. We have met each and every one of them. And to the extent this board wants to look this public in the face and deny this project is, again, a vote for racial and economic discrimination, a vote for racial and economic segregation. You have an obligation to help be a part of solving the affordable housing crisis in this town and in the state. We have delivered this project to you with cooperation from the town at every step on a golden platter. Don't stop this project by making perfect the enemy of good. A vote to table this project tonight is a vote to deny this project. The grant funding will be gone. Please do the right thing. Thank you.
Reverend Rick Maisano.
I signed the wrong form.
Okay,
Be the one at night.
you want to go at the end?
Yeah.
Just remind me, say. Thank you. All right, with that,
I will take its place if you guys don't mind. I didn't realize I had to sign in.
okay, if you give me your first and last name, please.
Jeremy Redcheck from TriStar Automotive.
You have 3 minutes.
Like I said, Jeremy Radchick of TriStar Automotive, the real property owner at 3625 Genesee Street. Here for resolution in regarding to the residency restriction for the Cheektowaga Police Department. Couple things on this, I really believe this is a common sense thing that shouldn't take 6 weeks to be passed. I've been watching it since the first week. It was tabled for language. You wanted the language corrected. It's been corrected. Week 2, it was tabled yet again because you guys said you didn't have the endorsement from the, everybody knows what I'm talking about. It doesn't really matter. I've had the Cheektowaga police chase a drunk driver in my lot, crash through my building. I've had vehicles stolen off my lot. I've had people go through vehicles on my lot and steal my customers' property. And you can tell customers till you're blue in the face, lock your cars, don't leave your keys in them. There's a mail slot to drop your keys. They don't do it. They go, they leave their cars people come in, go through them, take their stuff, steal money, whatever they can, valuables, you know, and that reflects poorly on me, you know, in our town. You know, I got people coming in from all sorts of different towns because of my following and my reputation. And they leave their cars and then they get rummaged through by, you know, these people that, you know, need it or hard up for it. You know, police presence would definitely improve that, I think, for our town. You know, you get more police, you know, to help these guys out, do their job. You know, last year I was rear-ended in a Starbucks parking lot. It took an officer 45 minutes to respond to my call so I could get a police report, just so I could get, you know, something for my insurance company to get a scratch, you know, removed from my bumper. A lot of these guys know me. My girlfriend of 4 years now is a Cheektowaga officer. You know, she has safety concerns living in the town that she patrols in. Her daughter goes to Catholic school. You know, she's running into people and their children that, you know, she's arrested prior, you know, and that's definitely a safety concern. You know, all the guys you got here, they're here to support themselves and all the other officers in, you know, Cheektowaga. I don't think every one of them is here because they want to move out of the town. They're here because they want support. They want you guys to do the right thing here. Put your differences aside, you know. This board, you know, I own a lot of properties in a lot of different towns. West Seneca, Alma, Marilla, Alden. I've been to a lot of different board meetings. I've never seen a board so dysfunctional in regards to getting something done. So I'm asking you guys to put your differences aside. We're on week 6 now. Let's get this approved and, you know, finalized. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Vicky Leader, and then we're gonna move on.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to talk. I have the same issue with residency. As a nurse, I treat first responders for PTSD, for anxiety. I've been really busy. They wear their names on their uniform. Anybody can do a Google search and know where they live. Anybody. As for you, fire. Same thing. You do something wrong, they'll find you. They should have an option to live outside of our borders, especially cops that have been on a job. They know the streets, but that's a non-issue. We need good cops. We need solid protection. But when I was going to run for board, I wanted their names off their uniform, their badge numbers only. That's what I wanted because it's too easy to find them. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
Yeah. With that, we're going to move on to our public hearings. Our first one this evening is on local law 2024-3, a local law to amend the building and construction codes, administration law for the town of Cheektowaga. See what we got. We have one signed up for that. Right. There are no speakers. Anybody wish to speak on this before we motion to close the public hearing? Make a motion to close the public hearing. Second from Councilmember Kaminsky, all in favor? Aye. All right. We're moving on to the second public hearing of this evening. This is on local law 2024-4, a local law to amend the taxation law of the town of Cheektowaga. We do have one speaker signed up for this. Gary Bork, the podium is yours.
A lot of discussion about affordable housing in Cheektowaga. But let's not be naive. That project at 111, I support it, by the way. I just think you need to make adjustments to make sure there isn't parking overflow and there isn't an issue with other matters. But I do support affordable housing. But let's not be naive, as I said. The developers are in it for the money. That's not a not-for-profit organization. They're there for the money. And that's fine. That's how we should do it. Capitalism should work with the state in developing affordable housing. That's great. But let's talk about something you can do that isn't for the money. Let's talk about helping seniors. In August of 2022, Governor Kathy Hochul, today, here's what she said at her website. Today, she signed a legislative package aimed at expanding affordable housing for those 65 and over. That package included the very measure that allows you to increase the tax exemption for seniors. She focused on that as part of her affordable housing package for New York State. Today, I signed legislation to put money back in the pockets of New York homeowners and help seniors stay in their homes. The affordable housing provision. That's what this is. It was an embarrassment you didn't increase it 2 years ago when we asked. It was an embarrassment you didn't increase it to the max a year ago. Stop embarrassing yourselves. Help seniors. And I want to remind you, your picture's on here. And what's it say? Working to keep taxes manageable for seniors and young families. Don't forget the senior part. Please pass that when it comes up for a vote. Thank you.
Brian, may I be added to that?
Yes.
Thank you. I never realized how short I am until I come up with this. I appreciate that you are trying to pass this. The board is trying to pass this exemption for seniors. I will benefit from it, of course, but a quick reminder, someday it's not really addressing young families and because it's for seniors. But we want to cut taxes and we want to not have bonding and we don't want to raise taxes. Someday the other foot's going to fall and you're going to have to raise taxes and you're going to have to raise them big. So while I appreciate this resolution to amend the tax law, I just want to put it out there that it doesn't really address the problem of young families affording to live in Cheektowaga. Thank you.
Any other speakers before we close the public hearing? I'll make a motion, we close this public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Bukowski. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing is closed. We move on to the consent agenda announcement. Consent agenda is contained in this meeting. The consent agenda is designed to assist making the meeting shorter and more efficient. Items left on the consent agenda may not be discussed when the consent agenda comes before the town board. If any council member wishes to discuss a consent agenda item, please tell me now, and I will remove the item from the consent agenda, and it will be added as a separate resolution item. Beginning with Councilmember Bukowski, I'm going to go down to see if any council members want any items pulled. Okay, Councilmember Thompson, anything pulled this evening? No. Okay. Councilmember Kaminsky, any?
No, not until we get to the waiver.
Okay. Councilmember Jazinski, would you like anything pulled?
Just tabled items and something on the waiver.
Okay, we're gonna be taking tabled items up beforehand separately, so we can pull it at that time. Any Councilmember Pilarski?
Oh, good.
All right, I would like to pull for discussion 2024-187. Madam Clerk, I think we're ready to hand the meeting over to you.
I need a motion and a second to approve the meeting agenda. And second, by motion.
I'll make a motion.
Councilmember Barsky, second by
I'll second.
President Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. We have first our resolutions from the table.
Can I make a motion to pull resolution 1 from the table, and then pull it off of for voting because we have the resolution, the cleaned up resolution within the packet.
Okay, we have a second on that.
We need Councilmember Thompson. You're good with that since you're the sponsor?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that is 129.
So resolution
Yep.
129 is full.
Yep, the old one.
We have resolution 2024-148. That is sponsored by Supervisor Noah, seconded by Councilmember Kaminsky, to increase and improvement of facilities of the consolidated sewer district in the town of Cheektowaga and the county of Erie, New York, pursuant to section 202B of the town law.
On the question?
Like the full roll call vote.
All right, there's a request to pull this item for, request for a roll call vote.
Councilmember Bukowski, for 148.
Pass for right now.
I'm sorry, is that a pass?
Pass for right now.
Councilmember Jazinski,
No.
Councilmember Kaminsky,
Yes.
Councilmember Flaherty,
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson,
No.
Supervisor Noah,
Yes.
Councilmember Bukowski,
No.
we have a 3-3 vote. That motion is defeated. We have resolution 2024-149. That is sponsored by Supervisor Nowak, seconded by Councilmember Kaminsky. Bond resolution of the town of Chickawaga, New York, adopted March 26, 24, appropriating $500,000 for the increase and improvement of facilities of the consolidated sewer district and authorizing the issuance of $500,000 bonds of said town to finance said appropriation.
Question?
Like to pull it for roll call.
All right,
Councilmember Bukowski,
No.
Councilmember Jazinski,
No.
Councilmember Kaminsky,
Yes.
Councilmember Flaherty,
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson.
No.
Supervisor Noah,
yes.
motion is defeated. I have a motion by Supervisor Noah, second by Councilmember Kaminsky to approve all items on the consent agenda, including the meeting minutes of March 26, 2024, and resolution items 2024-170 through 190. And we will call vote to approve the rest of the items on the consent agenda. Councilmember Bukowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Jazinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaminsky?
Yes.
Councilmember Flaherty?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson?
Yes.
Supervisor Noah?
Yes.
Rest of the items in the agenda is passed. We have a separate resolution item. 2024-187. That is sponsored by Councilmember Pulaski, Thompson, and Noah. Whereas the town of Chickawaga and the town of Chickawaga Police Code are parties to a collective bargaining agreement dated January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2026. The town has been unable to attract qualified candidates and retain current active police officers due to the residency restriction. The town and the club wish to modify the residency requirements to make the town of Chickawaga more competitive in recruiting and retaining police officers to the town of Chickawaga Police Department. The supervisor being hereby is authorized and directed to execute the attached respective collective bargaining agreement between the town of Chickawaga and the police club.
On the question? I'd like to speak on this briefly. This evening, my name is on the second resolution. It wasn't on the first. And we talked a lot about recruitment and retention. I want to talk a little bit about what convinced me to be a supporter of being less restrictive on residency, specific with policing. There's considerable research going back to the 1990s, even from 2021. There's a study that the Department of Justice put up. The title is Residency Requirements and Public Perceptions of the Police in Larger Municipalities. That study goes back to 1999, and it talks about how the quality of policing in our neighborhoods and communities is not negatively impacted because of changing residency requirements. They studied the impact of having residency versus non-residency and got into that in that study. There's another one from 2021 from DePaul University entitled Measuring the Impact of Residency Requirements and the Relationship with the Citizens of the Community. That also shows that changing residency, making it less restrictive, allowing officers to live outside of the community they police, does not have negative impacts to the community. And then there's an article from, I believe this is 2020 here. It says research shows that requiring officers to live in community does nothing to improve their performance or community relations. I know we talked about recruitment and retention, wanting the best officers possible. The research bears out that if our officers don't all live in the town of Chickawaga, or they live in other communities, that we're going to get quality policing service from the people that work for us. And, you know, there was a time where the thinking was that to have neighborhood policing or community policing, that you want your officers to live around the corner or around the block. This has been researched, and there's considerable research that shows we're not going to get any worse outcomes if we change this. I'm a yes on this item, and reading this research has changed my mind on it from the moment I got on the board until now. And I spoke to members of the PBA last year about this. I mentioned that in the last few meetings. I'm in support of it, and I hope that once we do this, that we're able to retain folks and recruit some folks to our department. Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, I'm just glad we can come to some type of agreement. But my personal opinion is we don't do enough for the police as it is. It's a thankless job. They put their lives on the line every day. And just like any other industry, we have to be competitive. There's other towns like Rochester that don't have any residency requirement. After 4 years, you make upwards of almost $105,000. Recruitment's down. I firmly believe we do have the best police in, the business. And I think we don't do enough for them. I think we need to do as much as we possibly can for them. And personally, I don't think majority of them would be, move out of town. I think they like the idea of living in town, but for a group of them that, had problems with their children in schools and going to the grocery stores or Home Depot and bumping into the people that they arrested. I believe what retired officer Filipski said that, you move out of town, they don't know who you are, but they go home at night, they take off their badge and gun, but they're still a cop at the end of the day, especially in this town with the crime going up. And their job is getting more challenging and the recruitment's on the decline. So I'm just glad we could do something today, but I personally feel we could have done more because I think comparing them to other departments is like comparing apples and oranges, but I'm glad we at least got something done.
Yeah.
Just speak quickly on that. I'm glad that we finally got to this point. There's certainly a lot of work that was done behind the scenes and something that I've brought up past couple meetings and wanted to prioritize because one of the biggest things to me are public safety, and you can't do that if you don't have a sufficient police force. And to me, that's number one. You want to be a vibrant town, people are not going to want to come here if they don't feel safe. So it's very important to me to get this passed. And I think it's just one step, it doesn't cost the town anything to say you have the ability to move out if you feel safe. So it's about keeping our staff safe as well. And I think it's very important that we got this done. And again, it's a step in the right direction. Is it a perfect solution? No, but I think you have to stay competitive. And personally, I'd like to see a number lower, but I mean, to say, I have another job in Lancaster or, West Seneca, it doesn't mean I care less about the town that I work in. So glad that we're able to get this done.
All right, anybody else?
I'll go quick. I mean, it's no secret between those that are old on the board or new. I mean, this was an item of mine since day one, joining this board 5.5 years ago. So I'm glad to see it finally coming through. Could more work be done on it? I'm sure there is. I'm sure we'll get to that point, but I want to thank all of you guys and gals back there. Jeremy, I think you said it best. It took 6 weeks too much. I mean, it's as simple. We're all here today. We all finally agree on it, but I'm glad to see it finally going through. So thank you guys.
All right, on the question. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carries.
Motion and a second to approve some or all of the resolutions under suspension of rules. That would be 2024-191 through 2024-196. I have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-191 and 2024-195 and 2024-194.
Right, I'd like to pull 191 and 192.
I'd like to also add resolution 2024-196, highway and drainage bonding.
Supervisor, can we go over that one more time? So you wanted 191?
Yes, clerk. I would like to approve 2024-191 2024-194,
Yep.
and 2024-195. I would also like to add 2024-196.
Do I have a second to those four resolutions? Councilmember
I'll second.
Kaminsky? All in favor?
Aye. Highway bonding.
I'd like to pull 196 for a roll call vote.
We're going to take them each individually, Councilmember.
Thank you.
Resolution 2024-191 is sponsored by Councilmember Kaminsky, seconded by Councilmember Thompson. The following individuals being hereby are hired as part-time employees in the departments listed below. As seasonal employees, that would be, all items are listed under sanitation department.
On a question? All in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed?
Resolution 2024-194.
91? No, I think he meant 92 and 93.
Yeah, 92 and 93.
Clerk, are we on 194?
Yes.
Okay.
Resolution 2024-194 is sponsored by Councilmember Pilarski, seconded by Supervisor Noah. Greenleaf Builders has filed a project submittals for review under the lead address of 1111 Harlem Road, Chickawaga, New York, 14227. 124-3227 is the SPL under project number 2023-3034. The developer has made project amendments based on traffic study, based on the Traffic Safety Commission comments. This local board, the Town Board of Chickawaga, New York, grants approval for the site plan established under the development review application listed under 1111 Harlem Road. The issuance is in approval of conditions of all civil drawings being reviewed and approved by the town engineering department, in addition to any agencies, permits, review, approval needed. That's the original resolution.
Madam Clerk, do you have language on two amendments that were
Yep.
proposed?
So
One
we
is in,
we added on, be it further resolved, the very last resolve, be it further resolved, we are adding at the end, engineering will also review pump station capacity beneficial to the town. And additional resolve will be added that says resolved that the parking needs will be reviewed within 1 year between the developer and the town.
and that's, in that agreement will be drafted on a written agreement. So I'd like to add to that, on contingent of a written agreement between the developer and the town. I believe it may be in that language already.
Do we have a motion to amend that resolution?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the amendment?
Um,
Councilmember Thompson, you're recognized.
Thank you. I personally like what Mr. Bork mentioned about contingency of, if that's not gonna be an issue, then put something in writing to say, if parking becomes an issue, reduce the occupancy to correct that problem. Any other thoughts?
I think we should get an agreement drafted through our legal department that addresses the parking. I don't know if I'd go to exactly that length, but the fact that it should be drafted through our legal, I agree with.
Yeah, and I think that's doable. The biggest thing I'm concerned about right now, and I have no idea off the top of my head how much money this is gonna cost the developer by putting it off. And I believe what Corey said, we have met every single parameter that they were required to meet. We really have no means, at least I don't, to turn this project down at all. There might be some things I don't like about it, but I think overall it's a good project and it's gonna be good for the town. I don't even think we've got a legal standing to turn this down, but that's just me.
Anybody else?
I'd like to make a motion to table it.
Oh, wait, Councilmember Pilarski, and then we'll go to Councilmember Jazinski.
And on that note where Councilmember Kaminsky was, John, what consequences or whatever, could we face if this doesn't go through today? I know the developer's got a tight deadline coming up, I think, and the grant is due, a couple days, I think, from now or whatever, or a week, less than a week. what actions could be taken against the town, seeing that, like Corey said, they've met every, checkbox along the way here? What position are we putting ourselves into, whether we delay this or we shoot it down?
Article 78, I would assume.
I choose my words wisely, because I obviously have the applicant here in the audience. Certainly not advising applicant, but to answer your question, heard, and you've been part of, and we've met on Friday, and it's gone through all the hoops they've been asked. They've applied and asked for grant money. They're up against a time frame, which it doesn't get done tonight, that could be detrimental issue for them. I don't think I have to say what's going to happen next, but I think litigation would be on the forefront. So that being said, I would caution any board members to obtain their comments further regarding that.
Just think any board member who's got any reservation on this topic to ask the questions now. Unless you have all your answers, and then let's move forward.
There was Councilmember Jazinski was next. I believe you wanted a motion to table recognized?
Well, I'd like to address what Councilmember Pilarski said about addressing what I think are my concerns. And the reason why I want to table is because I think there's some uncertain language in the resolution. First of all, the size it's too big. We're trying to fix our sanitary sewers here, and our town engineer doesn't know how many gallons per minute that pump station handles. To me, I find that kind of strange. I mean, how long have you been town engineer, Pat?
14 years?
And you don't know how many gallons per minute go through that pump station?
No, I don't.
Okay, I respect that. The word of affordable. I worked very hard. I came from poverty, to live where I live in the town of Cheektowaga. And I'm sorry, $13.90 a month, to me, is just not affordable. So the language is not there. This is not affordable. We're putting in 14 2-bedrooms and 65 1-bedrooms. Language is used. If we don't do this, and it's not fair to different people. I think it's not fair to the people that live in the area. I think it's too big. I think it's a bunch of greed. I think it should be downsized and rethought. If this project really is important to them, to the developer, I think they should think of something a little more smaller scale and reconsider using language as affordable, because a 2-bedroom apartment, I have 4 bedrooms in my house, and the rent for that place is more than my mortgage with my escrow. So that is not affordable. So I'd like the developer to consider doing something smaller scale and rethink the language of affordability, because personally, I don't think it's affordable at all. And in fact, as Sandy Prisbel said, we have to think of our future. Well, I agree. We need to encourage younger kids to buy homes. But how can we do that when the inflation rate's through the roof? So what does it do? It contributes to corporate greed. Projects like this. $13.90 is a lot of damn money. And, you got to think of how many hours working you're not going to afford that rent working at McDonald's or working at Arby's. That rent's you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to be, unless you're a supervisor working 60 hours a week and paying your bills, that's just not going to be affordable. And then you got your car payment, your price of fuel to go to work. It's just not affordable. I think the language is mixed up.
Okay, any other council members would like to speak on this item?
Well, I got to point one piece of interest. They're doing a little bit of digging into it. And I think you have to look at the standards today. I know a 2-bedroom duplex that I looked at, my grandson looked at 2 weeks ago on Seneca Creek Road in West Seneca. $2,500 a month. And it's not unheard of any place anymore. This is not the 70s, the 80s, it's not the 90s. those are realistically what a lot of these young people are paying in rent. If they get one $800-900, they're hitting a home run. It's not going to be in the back section. The average that, at least that I know personally, is anywhere from $1,100 to $1,500 for a decent apartment. These are going to be brand new places, which is even harder to find. But it's like I said, and the biggest thing I'm concerned about, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, do we just want to take a shovel and bury this program at this point in time? I don't. I certainly don't. I think it's a good project for the town. I guess affordability is all relative to the same as poverty is. But I'm certain by the time this place is completed, I would be willing to bet you dinner that it'll be sold out. The same as the ones they're building right off the 90 in Hamburg. Most of those, in my understanding, are booked already. And the young people don't want a house to take care of. They don't want to do the lawns. They don't want to do the maintenance. Most cases, their social life, their jobs, that's it. And that's the way everything is going. Certainly is not the generation I grew up in where everybody wanted their own home. A lot of people don't anymore. A lot of people are not capable of owning or maintaining a house anymore. And if you look at the cost of maintaining a house, forget about the mortgage, the lawnmowers, all the utensils you need. Everything that is involved in taking care of a house is not cheap. And I will argue with Mr. Jasinski, that's about what average rents are today for a decent place. And one thing I do not want to see is, because of it, just BSing around that we're going to put this off until the grant is gone and the project is gone, and we'll probably wind up someplace else. Thank you.
All right, with that, I believe.
Vern.
Oh, Vern, I'm sorry.
I'd
Yeah,
like
go
to
ahead.
speak on that too. So I understand you mentioned we go through all the proper channels, things like that, but you know, our zoning board, those are people that are appointed by this board. So, you know, in essence, they're doing what we have expected them to do. And earlier you mentioned there's going to be students and people that are moving out of their home, moving into this. I actually asked that question to the gentleman, I forget your name, I'm sorry, from Greenleaf Builders a couple weeks ago, if there would be college students, and you told me it would not be. So the two statements are contradicting from you two gentlemen as far as who will be occupying these apartments. So I guess I'm a little confused on that.
Just on that, I want to make it clear that I don't call members of the zoning board and tell them how to vote. And any other comments before we consider the amendment?
One last statement.
Yeah, go.
So, you know, we talk about the affordability, we talk about our infrastructure, we talk about our ailing sewer systems. So if you have a truck and you're just gonna run it to the ground until it breaks, that's basically what we're gonna do. Let's build, and then put all the infrastructure of all these projects on the backs of the taxpayers. I know our current infrastructure can't support this project. So that's where I have reservation. Plus, what is it gonna cost? What is the actual cost gonna be to upgrade or whatever needs to be done to this pump station? Or what is the town's responsibility gonna be to make this project come to fruition off the back of the taxpayers in Cheektowaga? I mean, we're talking probably in the millions of dollars.
So
Right.
far, it's negative $3 million because of the grant the town's receiving.
Right, I understand that, but you know, we're still gonna, that's a portion of it. $3 million, you know, in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to that type of construction, it gets eaten up pretty fast. So, I mean, I haven't seen any projections. I've asked the questions, how many gallons per minute our current pump station is? What is the load gonna be on the grid? I mean, we're supposed to go all electric. That's what our governor wants, all electric. Now, this building is gonna be 100% electric. Your heating, your hot water tank, you're probably gonna have charging stations too for your EV cars. So, I mean, and, you know, statistically, if we're talking about stats, statistically, the current grid can't even support that. I mean, if we went to 100% electric cars by, what is it proposed, 2035 or 55, something like that? I don't know the exact date, but if we go totally electric by then, there's not enough raw materials on the face of the planet to handle that. So I just think that, yes, I want to promote stuff like this, but I'd be more open to reconstruction, you know, a redevelopment, you know, and stuff like that. And I know this is redeveloping that area. I don't want to stop trying to make this into something good, but Jerry's right. There is people that, don't want to do those things, but I know plenty of young people that wish they could afford a house and would love to cut their lawn and take pride in where they live and be able to fix their homes up. So, I mean, there's both cases on both sides of the argument, and I respect, what Jerry says. There is a population of people that don't want to have those responsibilities, but in all fairness, I think there are people that want to fix their homes up or buy a house, a fixer-upper, and reinvest. I think we should come up with programs for this town. I mean, we lead the county in foreclosed homes. Why not have a program to fix these homes up and get these houses back on the tax roll? I mean, that's just how I feel. I mean, yeah, I'd like to see something happen to the property, but I think it needs to be something a little smaller scale, and that's just how I feel.
Okay, thank you. With that said, we had an amendment proposed. Clerk, can you read the amendment for the board to hear once again?
The very last resolve, we are adding engineering will also review pump station capacity beneficial to the town. We're adding another resolve that the parking needs will be reviewed within 1 year between the developer and the town with a written agreement in place between the developer and the town.
Address the site. We can talk about it because of that. That second lane. of it.
Hypothetically, if they do not agree with the proposed. Just bring devil's advocate.
We have a vote on the amendment. Like a roll call vote on it?
Councilmember Bukowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Jazinski?
No.
Councilmember Kaminsky?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson? This is on the amendment.
Yes.
Supervisor Noah?
Yes.
Roll call vote for the resolution as amended. Councilmember Bukowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Jazinski?
No.
Councilmember Kaminsky?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson?
Yes.
I'm sorry, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Supervisor Noah?
Yes.
The motion is carried. Resolution 2024-195. That is sponsored by Supervisor Nowak, seconded by Councilmember Pilarski. Kimballa, on behalf of Circus de Paris Family Circuits, made application to hold a family circus from Europe in the parking lot of Walden Galleria Mall from Wednesday, April 17th through Sunday, April 28th. This town board here approves the aforementioned application.
On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carries.
Motion is carried. The last resolution is 2024-196. It is sponsored by Councilmember Nowak, seconded by Councilmember Kaminsky. Bond resolution of the town of Chickawaga, New York, adopted April 9th, 2024, authorizing the issuance of bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $5 million to finance the construction of drainage improvements on the town highway, stating the estimated maximum cost thereof is $5 million and appropriating said amount for such purpose.
On the question,
Like to call for roll call.
I'd like to make an amendment. Can amendment be considered before a roll call?
Yes.
I appreciate that. I'd like to amend the $5 million amount to be to $2.5 million. Is there a second on that? For the highway drainage bond. This is resolution 196 that was introduced. We talked about it at the work session, about a highway drainage resolution. I'd like to amend the 5 million to 2.5 million. There's a second on that. All in favor to reduce the amount from 5 million to 2.5 million?
No.
All right.
Amount.
You vote for the amendment, you're voting for the resolution.
Like a roll call vote on that amendment?
Councilmember Bukowski?
No.
Councilmember Jazinski?
No.
Councilmember Kaminsky?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson? Supervisor Miller?
Yes. The amendment fails, so I'd like a roll call vote on the regular resolution.
Councilmember Bukowski? No. Councilmember Jazinski?
No.
Councilmember Kaminsky?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson?
No.
Councilmember Noah?
Yes.
Motion is defeated. That is the end of our resolution items. Communications received by the town clerk's office include the supervisor's statement of funds for December 2023 and the meeting minutes of the Traffic Safety Commission of March 9, 2024. General communications include one summons and complaint, one amended notice of motion, and 2 notices of claim, and 1 summons.
All right, well, supervisors' comments, I'll be brief tonight. Tomorrow evening at Maryvale High School, 7 p.m., myself and our highway superintendent, Rick Rusniak, are both going to be in attendance for a town hall meeting. We're going to do a brief introduction of ourselves, who we are, how we got here, and then we're just going to do question and answer with the audience on open topics relevant to the town of Cheektowaga. This is something that I discussed during my campaign for this office, and while I wanted to start this sooner, just haven't been able to. And I'm looking forward to doing more of these, hoping as many of you folks can show up, tell your friends and your neighbors, and I'm looking at it as an opportunity to learn more about the priorities that all of you have in mind. Maybe get some streetlights fixed, get some rants taken care of, whatever other neighborhood issues there are, it's an opportunity for that as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Any other council member comments? I'll start with Councilmember Jazinski.
So Councilmember Bukowski and Thompson and myself have talked about these capital improvements. There's a lot of money that's involved in this, and we want to make sure we make the right decisions when it comes to the taxpayers. You know, raising taxes, adding more money is not always the answer. It's about fiscal accountability. We'll have a resolution, we'll put something together. We're going to think this out, and we're going to be methodical, and we're going to put our thinking caps on and make sure that we come to something, bring something to the table. So we want something to be done. We just got to look at it and prioritize and see what we're going to do. But bonding equates to raising taxes, and I'm just not in favor of raising taxes, especially in today's world and economy. So I think we can do stuff, but just not on such a grand scale, maybe something a little smaller. I want to thank all the council members today for coming to agreement with the police resolution. It was very good. It shows that we can get things done, and I hope we can continue to try to get things done. But, you know, the knee-jerk reactions, we're talking about millions and millions of dollars of capital improvement projects that we just have to be a little more methodical about it. You know, there's a lot of things I'd like to do to my house, plenty of projects, but, you know, I don't want to have to borrow, so I have to pay until the day I die and then pass the debt on to my grandchildren and children. So I just think I want to do something. It's just we have to be well thought out process, so.
All right, any other council members?
Yeah, I guess I got to clarify some of it. I think it was Don that mentioned all the bonding we did over the last 10 years. And I think it's just about, we're in our 10th year right now of the consent order that is dictated to us by the state of New York that we don't have a say in, have no way out. Personally, everybody keeps asking, when is the end date? Do you know when it'll be over? When the DEC tells us so. This could go on for another 5, could go on for 15 years, might go on for 20 or 25 years until we have reached whatever their goal is. And I think, engineering, Mark Crystal's been involved in it. I was in it from day one. It's money, we could have put it on the tax bills. That would have been horrendous. I listen to this all the time. Can't raise taxes, can't raise taxes. We can't be that numb between the ears to realize that prices have gone up. Everything has gone up. I said this at a meeting before. Go to a grocery store. If you haven't seen the difference in the last year or two, you're not going in a grocery store. And it's like I said, everything, rates on everything has increased. And I hate to say it, but so is the expenses of the town of Cheektowaga, the state of New York, Erie County, Amherst, every single municipality. Nobody is immune to inflation. Whether the numbers that our federal government has given us, I don't believe is right. Groceries are up at least 20–25%. Most of my prices in my business are up at least 30%. Some are double that. And to think that, and I really hate to say it, and people are not going to like it. The best part about bonding in my book is it basically takes, to a certain degree, the peaks and valleys out of it. Can you imagine if we would have spent $30 million in one shot and put it on the tax rolls? People would be screaming. It's just a way of financing jobs that we cannot afford at this present time. And I hope I'm not here when the reserves run out and then there's going to be hell to pay. I think we'll look like amateurs next to Amherst and Hamburg and some of the other ones.
All right, any other council members go to this side? Councilmember Bukowski.
I'm going to speak honestly. This is my 4th month now as town councilwoman. And when I was sitting like you all are and looking at the town board, I wanted somebody that would represent me and my needs. And I was lucky I did win the seat, and that's what I'm looking out for you. I'm looking out for your money, okay? The expenses. And I do want to thank all the department heads because I've been doing my homework. I've been calling department heads. They've been answering my questions because I'm learning this job and I'm learning finance, everything else. And I just want to do what's best. I'm not against bonding at all. And I'm not against certainly to get done what we really need to do. In the past couple of weeks, I've emailed, I got some information back, some more information, when speaking with, emailing with Mr. Kraus, getting some more dollar amounts and everything. And I'm trying to come up with something that I would like to present then to the board and to come forward with some resolutions. But again, just so you know, I'm not against bonding. I'm not against doing what we need to have done. I'm just looking out for our money and your tax dollars.
And I know we had fruitful conversations. Thank you, really
Yes.
sincerely. So it's, 4 months in, it's been a pleasure working with you. It's going to be great going forward. I know. Anybody else?
I'll concur to that statement.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, the bonding, we've had plenty of conversations about it. And, between the special meeting that we did last week and to today, we've finally gotten to a point where we've ironed out, these scribbles might not make sense to a lot of people, but you're trying to go through and it's very difficult to try and prioritize what needs to be done and what wants do we have. So, a lot of people have brought up a lot of good questions about the development on Harlem Road. The thing that frustrates me is I asked, a question to two of those individuals and, as soon as, that passed, they're out the door. Why is it we do not get an answer to that question that I asked them? That's a slap in the face to me personally, I think, and everybody else in this room. It's just very frustrating to me. I thought it was an important question and they had contradicting statements. I think, it's a disservice to not answer that question. That's about all I got. Thank you again for everybody getting, that passed. I think there's ways to go about it in the future. The town reached out to get this grant. We've pretty much asked them to do this, development on Harlem Road. And that's why we are here today, because we reach out to them to do this project. That's what it comes down to. You can't go back and say, no, we asked you to jump through all these hoops and do this project. now actually, we don't want you to do it. So it's about being cognizant, the decisions we're making today are gonna affect you next year and the year down the road, and that goes into bonding, millions of dollars. You can't just within a week or two to say, all right, I have enough information to spend $20 million of your money. That's gotta be well thought out and not a pressured decision to jump into. So, I'm piggybacking off what Barb said there, but that's how I feel about it too. But we are pretty close to coming to resolution. Next meeting, you should see something proposed, and it's just a matter of what amount comes from reserves and what amount can we borrow, because that's got to be very minimal, because you can't just be in a cycle of borrowing every single year and saying, oh, we're not paying $300,000 this year for the bond 15 years ago, so now we can bond more. That's not the mindset to have going year after year after year. So yeah.
Thanks for inviting me to the table. I want to be there right to the finish line working with you.
Of course.
Councilman Pilarski, and then we're going to go to the public.
All right. I just look forward to the resolution put forward with the suggestions for bonding. I know we're hitting a very tight window if that bus has not already passed there. We pulled 2 resolutions on the late files that were supposed to be noticed to bidders. So there's that process as well. So I look forward to seeing the resolution put forward to try to get this work done if it's even possible. We'll see, but we'll see at the next meeting.
Takes 2 board members to call a special meeting. We can get those notice to bidders taken care of at a special meeting, 48 hours notice, and if we're going to do some bonding. So if there's really going to be an answer on that, we can get that taken care of before the next meeting. There's an appetite from this board. All right. With that, we're going to go to Dawn Filipski and begin public comment.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Brian for coming together on the police issue with, and making this a truly bipartisan effort for the residency. I appreciate that. The other thing is FEMA funds. I know that 2 years ago, I guess it was, we applied for FEMA. Do we got people here who can maybe call up Kathy Okel and say, hey, where's our money? Maybe we should do that. Publish the 2015 DEC consent order on the sewers on your sewer webpage. I can't find it anywhere. I shouldn't have to Google it all over the place. It should be there. And then we should also be publishing what we did, how much it cost, all of those things, when the bonds were issued, how much interest we're paying. Let's be a little bit more transparent. That's what you said you wanted. I'm asking for it. Home projects. Yes. So the accessible housing, that's going to increase, not because it's accessible housing is not going to increase police calls or fire calls, because it's additional housing. It's going to increase police calls, fire calls. And then what happens in 30 years? How many of you have been inside Williamstown lately? The place is a frickin' dump. You've been in Edgebrook, been in Lawson Gardens, you've been in Idlewoods. Have you been in any of those places to see what they look like 30 years down the road? Is there any mechanism to make sure that these places are kept in order? No, we don't send our housing people over there. My aunt lived in Williamstown. The floor was creaky. I thought I was gonna fall through it. The rugs are dirty out in the hallways. There's punch marks in the walls that are missed. Her apartment leaked from the windows, from the above person ahead of her, and they never fixed a dang thing. Never. She fell outside. The sidewalks are not good. When are we going to start taking care of some of the stuff we already have? And as far as bonding, yeah, that's $30 million that we currently owe. Brian Kraus said we didn't bond for 30 years, but clearly I have 1, 2, 3 bonds that are 30 years. In addition to that, we don't have, he did say that last time. I wasn't here, but he did say it when Barb asked him. What else? Jerry, you mentioned frequently about your children are gonna have to pay for that, the sewer bonds. Do you currently pay for the sewer bonds?
I paid sewer taxes for 18 years, never had sewers.
Do you pay for the sewer bonds that we're talking about putting on that $30 million?
No, because I'm in the Erie County District, not the town.
That's correct. I don't pay for them either. But how do we know who's actually being billed for this? Do we know they're not coming out of town reserves? ARPA funds, isn't that supposed to be for the whole town and not just a section of the town?
No.
I'd like to know. I don't know the answer.
Ms.
And while I'm
Felicity has
on it,
3 minutes.
2 seconds, I got 2 things, Brian. Internal control manual, if we have one, let's put it up on our website. And if we do internal audits, let's put them on our website too, because I don't think we're doing them. Thanks.
On ARPA, we have used some ARPA funds for the Consolidated Sewer District. County ARPA funds have been used for County Sewer District 1 and County Sewer District number 4. So ARPA funds have worked their way through all the budgets that touch the town of Cheektowaga, including our relationship with Buffalo Sewer Authority. I can't say with certainty. If I were a gambling man, I'd put my thumb on the table to say some ARPA funds made it into Buffalo Sewer's budget as well, but I don't know that for sure. So they make that over widely. And just additionally on that, and I'll get to the next commenter. There's a brochure from 25 years ago, back in '99, that showed federal funds that went into our sewer districts at that time, and the vast majority of repair money was there. I'll get that scanned as a PDF and get that up for the public to see. Gary Bark, you're up.
Your research was interesting, so my question is, why do we have a residency requirement at all for police? Why not from day one to expand the recruiting? Eliminate all residency requirements for our police force? Why would we require somebody to move into the town for 3 years when obviously it's not necessary? So I think that should be your next objective, is to eliminate the residency requirements so that recruiting can expand through the whole Erie County. I also think that we have to stop thinking about town's expenditures by saying, well, inflation goes up, so we got to spend more. Maybe we should start thinking about looking at our budget from $1. I can't believe that the budget currently is an absolute necessity. There have to be things in departments where we could reduce spending. It shouldn't always be, look, we spent $1 million, so next year it's got to be $1 million plus whatever inflation is. Maybe it's time to start thinking, we only have to spend 800,000. So we got to start looking at spending everywhere, not just in bonds and things like that, and stop thinking about just increasing the budget every year because inflation goes up. People in government and seem to think that, unlike people in business and personal lives, that it's always a baseline from whatever we had last year, it's got to be more next year. I think that's wrong. Thank you.
Next up is Robert Kutas.
Hello, my name is Bob Kutas, 100 Tree Haven Lane, Elma, New York. Thank you to the Cheektowaga Town Board and Supervisor Nowak for listening to me. Since I have 3 minutes, I've been listening to all the conversation. That project they're talking about, is that by the old Polish Villa restaurant?
Yes.
Over that property, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, I put 2 and 2 together. As far as PTSD, I was a state corrections officer for 16 years, mostly at Wendy. And I lived in Cheektowaga for 45 years on Francis Street in Sloan, Nantucket Drive, and on Cheekwood Drive. And my dad, who I'm going to talk about, lived in Cheektowaga for 55 years. Back in 2003, my dad, Ben Kutas of Nantucket Drive, submitted his first petition to then council member Tom Johnson to extend the walking path that was only on the North Creek side of Skajakwada Creek. In 2010, my dad then presented his second petition of 120 names to the town board during a regular meeting. That's when Councilman Stan Kaznowski began pushing for Dad's idea. of building a bridge over Skajackwada Creek and extending the walkway on the South Creek side. Dad thought, as stated in the article in the Cheektowaga Bee on August 23rd, 2012, by editor Matt Kruger, that this bridge and walkway gets people in the neighborhood to enjoy the outdoors and contributes to a sense of community. My dad passed away August 16th, 2023. When he lived on Nantucket Drive, he used to get up every morning at 5 a.m. to walk the path at the age of 81. Would the town board consider naming the path and bridge with some signage the Benjamin J. Kutas Memorial Bridge and Walkway? Am I allowed to give copies to the board?
If you have copies of information to share, absolutely, please approach.
Absolutely. And here's the original, in the Cheektowaga. But here's the same thing that's in those copies. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Copies for you guys, one. Two. I'll make a few more copies for the folks on this side. We have three. Sandy Chris Black, you're up. I'll get it in the email.
Am I to understand that you offered to reduce by amendment the bonding, to cut it in half? And it failed, and we didn't pass anything for any infrastructure projects in this town this evening. Do I have that correct?
Yep.
I do have that correct. Brian, you've been more than patient, and you've been trying to be accommodating to other people's opinions on this board. And I don't know how much farther you're gonna kick the can down the road, because it's gonna come back to bite the taxpayers in the future. Maybe not next year, maybe not the year after, but it's gonna come back to bite us if we don't take care of our infrastructure and get this stuff paid for. Figure out a way to pay for it. Let's see some resolutions. You guys seem to have bright ideas, but it's been 2 months now. We haven't yet to see a resolution from you to explain how to pay for it. Thank you.
Elias Farah. Good to see you, sir.
Hey, how you
Good to
doing?
see you guys. Figured I'd, stop in and say hi. But that's not what I'm here. First off, I saw Rick was there. I just wanted to give a thank you to him. I alerted him that there was a pothole in the old town hall back lot, and he did fill it in. And I'm like, it's like a future lawsuit, but he did a great job. It's all filled in.
No longer a future lawsuit.
Yeah, it's no longer a future lawsuit. We
I
saved
took a few seconds of this.
saved the town there. Really, I was just here, I think most of you probably know, I live over in the Harlem Kensington Circle area. And I drive by Manor Oak or the former Manor Oak building quite frequently. I don't know much if anything's going on or anybody's ever talked about it. I do know that everybody I live around and some of the businesses there complain about it a lot, and have asked me about it. And I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea. The board might know. I've heard people say like they get a ticket if their lawn has too long of grass, but they drive by Manor Oak and it looks absolutely terrible. I guess it's full of asbestos, and I know that there's rats that come out of it. So I don't know. I don't know if anybody has an answer. I don't even know what could be done about it, but
Just briefly, we've had some positive progress on it. We have had potential developers look at it. I will reserve my opinion to the property owner and keep it to myself this evening, but he's presenting a challenge to this. So I won't say anything more right this second. I want to get updates from Rick Coburn on what's gone on since then, but we have had people look at it. There's been some promising developments on that. But yeah, it's an eyesore.
that's
And it's
Yeah.
assessed at $50,000.
it is.
And it's
also-
not worth $1 million.
Yeah, it sits there and I hear it a lot. So that's all I kind of wanted to, it's my little part of town. So I'm like, it would be nice. I don't know what you can turn it into or what's.
Anything to do.
I brought it
Yeah.
up to Rick too, because obviously I'm around the
Yeah, you know, if you drive past and everybody.
it every day
Yep,
the
every
rat
day.
store.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's all I got for you guys.
Promising
See another hand over there.
That makes, it'll make the town look nicer, especially that business corridor over there. So, thank you.
All right. Reverend Rick.
You took away my.
You want to go on Manor Oak?
Yes, it's disgusting. We've talked about that before, and I won't belabor it. Just to let you guys know, on Thursday night, 7 o'clock, Dick Urban Community Association will have their meeting at that Maryvale Primary School on One Nagle Drive at 7 o'clock. Chief Coons will be speaking, Joe D'Angelo will be speaking, and we have somebody from NICEAG. We do have a safety concern on Greenway between Fairhaven and Farmingdale. All our streetlights are out.
All
All of
You're
them.
nice, egg, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Neighbors have called. They can't get through the phone. That's, forget about it. You'll waste your time. So they went online and they put a thing in and they said, well, you're going to go to the town board. Would you let them know? I said, they don't. I understand. Those streetlights have nothing to do with you guys, with the town board. You guys got a lot more weight than I do. Give them a call because the whole street is black. It's all dark. And we have kids on the street. We have elderly people on the street. It is a safety concern now. But last week they all went out, every one of them. I think there's 4 or 5.
I'll have my assistant get to work on that tomorrow morning.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You got it. All right. With that, anyone else like to speak? Our highway superintendent, Mr. Rujniak. Good to see you.
Hi, guys. This here is part of our infrastructure, right here. We dug this up today. It's the top of a drain system. The bottom's rotted right out of it. We dug this up today. This is what we're up against. Say you need more time. It's been 5 meetings. We haven't got anywhere with any of this bonding or any of this work. This is where we're at. It's up to you guys. If you want us to fix it, or do we come in after this all crushes down and have to dig it back up after? It's just gonna cost a lot of money. I just wish everybody would get their stuff together here, because it's embarrassing that I can't go out and do the job I was hired for. Thank you.
Anybody else?
He's gone.
Yeah, well, I gonna make a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Kaminsky, all in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
Thank you for the